So my point is, you say that this is the speech of Allah, or don't you?
Okay.
Right, yes or no?
Through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes.
That's fine. So it's through the Prophet Muhammad, and it is the speech of Allah. So am I right in saying that Allah's attribute of speech has entered into creation? Has Allah's speech entered into creation?
Not at all.
Not at all. And when he came to it, the fire, he was called by name, O Musa, verily I am your Lord. So this is the speech of Allah. It's there in creation with Musa.
So when the speech come, did it come in the form of verbal? Did it come through his mind? Was it telepathic? What way was it?
Well, it's through words.
But that is words.
That's fine, great. So has it entered into creation?
What do you mean by has he entered into creation?
So
Him being the creator of everything, he has definitely entered into creation.
Thank you. Okay. So you have no objection to the idea of God becoming a man?
God becoming a man?
Yeah.
God is everything.
So God can become a man?
God can do anything he wants.
I have no problem with this guy. No problem with you. Do you believe that God can enter into his creation? So, oh wait, he said no, he said yes.
Listen,
Did you see that?
Listen to this. I stand by his side.
Great. You say Allah cannot enter into his creation.
Allah can do anything he wants.
He says he can. Who's right?
No, I say Allah can do
Who's
anything
right?
he wants. Leave it. No, brother.
Yeah.
The Most High
Can do anything.
Can do anything he wants.
Brilliant.
And plus, we have no right to say he can't.
Brilliant. So God can enter into his creation.
He can do anything he wants.
Thanks be to God.
He
But
can
he's
do
saying no.
anything he
He's saying no. He's shaking his head and saying no. So which Muslim should I believe? This one or this one? So the clear guidance of Allah is not so clear because we got two Muslims who don't know what to believe. But yet that Muslim disagrees. He disagrees. Why do you disagree? Why do you disagree? So it doesn't befit His Majesty to enter into His creation. So what about this then? What about this? Is this the speech of Allah?
Yeah, the whole Quran is.
Is this in creation?
It's not creation.
So this is not creation. I'm holding the uncreated in my hand. Just think about what you just said. Allah cannot enter into creation. This is Allah's speech. I am holding it in my hand. Is this in creation? It's not His creation.
The words of Allah are not His creation.
His words. Am I holding the words of Allah in my hand?
This is the words of Allah you're holding.
There you go. I am holding the words of Allah in my hand. I am holding one of the attributes of Allah in my hand. Yes or no?
Words.
So yes, and am I holding it? Am I holding it? So this is a contradiction. It's a contradiction. You cannot on one hand say that these are the words of Allah, and then in the next breath say that Allah doesn't enter into His creation. If the speech of Allah is an attribute of Allah, and this is the speech of Allah, then it is in creation. Allah enters into His creation. And if the speech of Allah is in creation, then Muslims cannot object to the idea that God can enter the creation and become a man. Amen. Because if His speech can become a book, why can't He enter and become a man?
Right.
You've just said that Allah's word has entered into creation. Brilliant. Can the attributes of Allah be separated from Allah? So now we've established that these are the words of Allah and these are in creation. Now we've established that we agree upon that. My next question is a simple one. Can the word of Allah, can His speech be separated from Himself? Muslims come around the corner challenging Christians about our belief in the incarnation, about our belief that God can enter into creation. They challenge us all the time. And yet their own theology teaches exactly the same thing. They believe that what I am holding in my hand right now are the words of Allah. But who would deny that the paper and the ink is created? Who would deny that the hand is created? Nobody. So I am literally holding the attribute of Allah in my hand, in the material. But we Christians, we believe in an all-powerful God who can do whatever He wants, and you can't tell Him otherwise. And that this all-powerful God can take onto Himself a material human nature that is not confused with His divine nature, that is not mingled with His divine nature, that does not change His divine nature. But yet, in the person of Christ, the divine and the material sit together. In the same way Muslims argue that this is the speech of Allah. It is the word of Allah. But the ink is created, the paper is created, the act of writing is created, the pen is created, the recitation is created. And so they have this concept that if I burn the Quran, I don't burn the words of Allah. I can't destroy the words of Allah. And why? Because even though this is the word of Allah in the material, these two things sit apart. The Quran says, if it was from any other than Allah, I would find contradictions. I have found a contradiction. If you are a Muslim, tell me where I am wrong. Can any Muslim answer that question?